We're back on Global TV. I'm in San Diego, and in Hamburg, Germany, is Dr. Natalie Forrest. Welcome, Dr. Natalie.
Thank you, Ed, for having me.
It's
It's always
really,
a pleasure to be here because you have so many interesting topics.
you're so kind to be involved so much with your busy schedule. And so it's your late afternoon now. What time is it now with the new daylight time?
Well, I think we all switched. You all switched 1 week later, so we should still be 9 hours. It is here now 5 p.m. in the afternoon.
Okay, it's 8:02 a.m. here.
Yeah, nine
Okay,
hours.
let's talk about mindset. Okay,
Mm.
all right, post-COVID and uh, the threatening wars, warlike talk, and viciousness that's out there. So let's talk about, from your view, mindset from your view today.
Okay, from my view today. So I got to preface everything with just alerting everybody that I'm very specific about words. Okay, that's probably the historian in me. But mindset, the word set right there to me is a big challenge because if something is set, it's not movable, right? And so therefore, if we're talking mindset, which everybody talks about right now, we have to understand the message that we're sending, which is there's this mind that is completely set. Secondly, we're only talking about the mind. We're not talking about body, mind, and soul. We're not including the heart. So having prefaced everything with that, I think the mindset of today, the way that we have been trained to think, is fear. Fear of what is happening, fear of what may come, and therefore giving all of our power away to others to tell us how to do something, but only within very specific parameters. So we're not really having the opportunity to explore on our own, to grow. We've sort of been put in a very comfortable and sheltered place. And I think, you mentioned, the wars, the violence, everybody's afraid of COVID again. Then right now in Europe, we're seeing the flu, a very, very hard strain of it. So it's like all of this fear. And there seems to be little balance of saying, yes, there are some things we don't know. And yet, maybe all the things we don't know yet, we can actually grow from if we just became a little less comfortable and a little more flexible.
Is there
There
a
is a mouthful.
practice? Is there a way to practice that transition?
I think so. And I think, it usually works better when you have supportive people around you. When we're all by ourselves or when we're in an environment where everybody thinks alike, okay, then I think it's harder. And that's the situation we're facing right now. We're in our home offices alone, glued to the computer, and every now and then, whatever system we're using, some bad news pop up. Okay. Or we're in an office space where everybody's just trying to get their work done, is already afraid of the drive home and what they may get while they're at the office. So, it is kind of difficult and yet absolutely plausible because we just need to look for people who are also more positive. If we're looking for the positive things in life, okay, and they can be teeny tiny. So, today it's been like raining all day, but from time to time, the sun peeks out. And the way that the sun then shines on the fallen leaves, it's just magical. So that's something small. Or when your spouse says good morning or smiles at you, I think when we sort of use all of the little positive things, we can get ourselves out of this stagnation. And really, that way we find others who think alike. When we start a conversation with, how are you? Or we answer, I'm great. We shift automatically. This is the whole atmosphere of what we're engaging in. And I think that's a good way to start.
Well, give me an example.
Okay, so I love scaring people to death. And the way that I do that is when they say, hi, how are you? I look at them, I say, I'm just awesome. The weather's great. The rain is much needed. And they look at you like you're crazy, and that's fine. And then they go, oh. And before they can even start to negate what I said, is I will say, what great things have you seen thus far today? And so I'm giving them a different avenue. Or, with kids, when kids come from school, it's not, oh, what happened today? But what two good things did you see today? Did you notice today? Or what's the best thing that happened today? When you open a conversation up with the good, then there's less and less room for the negative.
Good point.
And
I
I
like
also
that.
think, yeah, and I also think the words, right? You and I, we've talked before, so I don't like using the word problem. I use the word challenge. Okay. It's a different mindset. Something challenges me. And when we challenge ourselves, we try to find solutions. If there's a problem, I mean, our whole body changes. Oh, there's a problem. Okay. It's a roadblock. I can't move. But if you're saying, there's a tiny branch on the road. Can we somehow get over it? How can I get over it? So you're asking different questions. And I think that is a step forward, and away from this fixed mindset that really limits us to think outside a box, to see ourselves as really special human beings.
So why is this important today?
It couldn't be more important today than any other time. I think, I love Greg Braden and what he says, or, some of the people like Bruce Lipton and so forth. And I think right now, I agree with them that we're in a time, and I don't want to use the word battle, where we're being challenged to be really human. We've lost a lot of our humanity when we had to face wars all the time. And then came COVID, and we were stuck at home. We didn't have any interaction. And I want to say, I don't have statistics, but half of us realized, wow, this is great. I can now find myself. I can now realize who my spouse is, who my kids are. We use that time to really rediscover the good. Others realize that they don't ever want to see their spouse again, and they don't know what life they're living. So everybody made a change, which was more human. But at the same time, the more human we become, the more we get challenged from the outside. Okay, whether it is bomb scares, whether it is climate change, whether it is a war, another war, somebody's going to take over there are all these bad news. And so today, the biggest challenge that we have, I believe, is to overcome the fear, realize that we can and actually are the people who can make it better instead of waiting for a savior. And so when we accept that, I guess maybe we'd call it a growth mindset. We're accepting the challenge. Okay, I'm going to be human again. You want to hit me, and I'm not going to use, the Bible. You want to hit me, well, I'm going to smile at you. You want to tell me your negative story, I will listen to it, but I will not soak it up. But instead, I'll be empathic, I'll listen, and I'll respond with something positive, which really is very, very hard to do. It's much easier to go down, the dark road. But I think right now we need it because we see all of these explosions. We see everything going up in flames. So do we want to be part of the flames that burns everything down? Or do we want to be, I didn't think this through, this metaphor. Do we want to be the water that quenches the fire? I think that's really the question. And therefore, right now, getting out of this fixed fear mindset is really, really important if we want to live in a world that is joyful.
Yeah, and a lot of that is interpersonal relations.
Yes,
That's the whole thing, isn't it?
absolutely. And at the same time, interpersonal, and we often forget that, right? So I can have a great relationship with other people, and we see this a lot, that there's this one person, everybody loves that person, always helps everybody, but they're not okay with themselves, right? They have this front where they help everybody, and when they come home, they're depressed. We've seen that a lot. And so the interpersonal starts with your relationship with you. And that's why this mindset, or mind flex, as I like to call it, idea is so important. Can we get from being negative about ourselves to being positive about ourselves? Can we actually wake up and say, wow, I have no clue who this person in the mirror is, but I know you're human and therefore I love you. And I think, understanding that we're human, we're special, we all have strength, we all have weaknesses, but there's a reason why we're here. So what can I do to embrace myself? And when I embrace myself, then we can embrace others and they can embrace us honestly. And that's the human part, right? Where you can go to somebody and say, today's been really tough, can I just have a hug? And they give you a hug. They don't ask anything. They don't do anything. It's just like, okay, you need a hug. And we've seen those videos go viral as well, where somebody says, I need a hug. Or, somebody has a sign up says, if you need a hug, I give them. And people need that. So, you've been in a relationship for a long time, and it's come and go. It's give and take.
Yeah.
It's one day you're good, one day she's good, and but you work it out. But it can't work if both of you are not happy with yourselves. And that is not just in a marriage, that's at work as well.
Boy, that's really spot on. I enjoy listening to you. What can you and I do with the audience out there who will be vast and across border across the coming weeks and months as the recording of this program gets out there through LinkedIn and YouTube and other resources? Is there a time? Does there have to be a time when mindset is blocked, impassable, give up, look for something to start over or to do differently? I'm not being negative on person. I'm just asking because I'm finding currently, today and recently, really concerned about what's going on in politics, and we're not turning the show into politics, but it's scary, and there's a mindset that needs to change, and that's sort of what we're talking about here on the show today. And there's a pathway. Now, is the pathway through a formula that you've discovered, or is it in combination with prayer of some kind, meditation? But it just seems like there's so much crap going on and scary stuff that I don't even want to watch the news,
right?
and yet I turn it on.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
and
we're on
so
autopilot, right? Yeah, yeah. I think that is probably one of the most important questions that you're raising. And I find myself having those conversations where, for example, somebody will not come at me, but will sit down with me and say, "So, what do you think about the Ukraine war, Putin, Zelensky? What do you think about Hamas? What do you think about this?" And I can see from their behavior that they want a certain answer. They want to engage with, I'm going to call it the negativity, right? The fear and the negativity. Okay. So and so is bad. This is really bad. Everything is bad. I can see that. And if we're looking at some of the information we have access to, I can absolutely understand where they come from. My response that I usually give is, I don't really have an opinion on it yet because I don't have all the facts. Okay, when I say that, they usually get upset. Like, you don't have an opinion on this. However, I'm a historian, so I don't have all the facts. Therefore, I'm not going to utter an opinion without facts. At the same time, I'm trying to block the negativity. I'm trying to go into a more I don't know if you want to call it prayer or meditate. I'm trying to go into a more peaceful situation. Take the wind out of their negative sails and say, yes, there's a lot of bad going on. But I don't really believe in good and bad. So what could be the reason behind this? What can I do to contribute positively? And that's always my come from. And like I said, it's not easy. Like you said, we turn on the news and it's all bad. Here in Europe, we have a lot of refugees right now, not just from the Ukraine. We're also getting them from Israel. We're getting them from Tunisia, from everywhere. And of course, they're seeking safe harbor. So we see it, we're faced with it every day. And then it's like, wow, so how can I still be peaceful? And I think the only thing that really works for me is trying to try to get a little out of the head and go into the heart. I talk a lot about reconnecting the heart and the head because mindset is the mind. It does include the heart. So if I see somebody suffering, whether they're yellow, purple, blue, or gray, if I see somebody suffering, I can analytically say why, that they deserve it, etc. But what does my heart say? My heart most likely is going to say, oh my gosh, how can I help? What can I do? And that is a different come from. And yes, it sends a different energy. Okay. I don't want to go into the energy healing modalities now, but we all know that prayer or meditation does change the energy. There have been scientific evidence tests of
yeah,
this. So if I come at you and I say, well, yes, but I really feel for these people. I really feel for black, white, yellow, and purple and orange, regardless of who they are, because they are human beings. Then I'm changing the conversation from mind to heart, and I can connect them. Some people just do things that are not as nice to others as we might like, but you have a different come from. And that only happens if you understand that everybody is human. They are not categories. Blue people are not better than orange people. They're still people. And so we need to take away some of the categories we have that separate us and go back to seeing each other as humans and go more to the heart. Whether that means prayer, taking walks in nature, going to, I don't know, going into the gym to get all of your negative energy out. I don't really care what it is. But that when you go out into the world and when you go into yourself, that you can release all of that fear and say, no, I'm a human being, I'm a good person, and I'm going to contribute positively. That is not easy. It gets harder and harder the more of those conflicts that we see, the more that we see politicians do things where we go, this is unbelievable. If I did that, I would be in jail. But they get away with it. So no comparison. It's just, this is happening. What can I do positive? And when you bring that with you, which is daily work, daily work, then you can influence positively others. And I think that's what, you try out new things. You see that, wow, Ed is always interviewing really cool people. They have great ideas for HR. They have great ideas for medical development. That inspires me. What can I do? Can I do a talk show that also helps? So I think that really is part of the shift that we need to engage in at this point.
Thank you, Dr. Natalie, for your insight on this. Some people will think this is like too highfalutin, and and others will just get into the drift here, and the mood that you set very nicely here. So let's talk about you and what are you going to do tomorrow?
Well, number one, I hope I'm going to shed some positivity because it is daily work and I will have to deal with the computer as well and be calm about it. Well, tomorrow, thank you for asking. I'm actually part of, well, I'm hosting a foundations showcase. And what we're doing there is we're really highlighting, spotlighting 6 foundations that do good in the world. And that is from 90210 Enterprise, the Advisory Legacy Council, and we're just sharing 6 people, their visions, why they do what they're doing. We're having conversations, and hopefully, my hope is that people who are participating live or later are going to be inspired either to implement their own ideas of some positive nonprofit or action, or that they're going to go and collaborate with one of the 6 that we're going to highlight. And it's something that we're going to continue doing. So this is the first of many to come.
So this is a gathering of hand-selected, specifically selected people because of your knowledge of them and
Yes.
their ability to communicate clearly.
Yes. And, we have more. We already know some. Like, for example, one nonprofit that is headed by a common friend of yours and mine that you introduced me to, that I want to invite for the next foundation showcase. I believe he goes by the name of Mark Cohn, and I have not even mentioned it to him, but there are other good people who we want to bring in. It's just a matter of getting it started. So if we know what they do, they're positive about it, and they can share ideas on how I can contribute, then that's who we want.
Fascinating. And are these people in LA or are they from anywhere?
Oh, no, they're global. So 3 of those are for tomorrow. 3 of those are actually in Germany. One is, I believe, in Sweden right now, and one is in I want to say Philadelphia. Yes. So a huge array of people. It doesn't matter where you are. We're just looking for people who spread positivity and humanity.
Wow, this is great. This is great. So are you working on a new book by any chance?
Well, there, I don't know if you can see like the wheels turning. I am, but nothing yet that I can actually say that has been done. I did write a book about fear, interestingly enough, but I never published it. So I think I'm going to work on something else first.
That's interesting. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so your daughter is still happy being in Germany?
Oh, yes, yes, yes. She is happy. She gets to, yeah, I have to say it like this, live a little more independently than is possible in the US. And she is highly engaged, I must say, which keeps me as her mom very active as well.
That's great. All right, thank you again for being on the
Thank you.
show again, and I'll get you the program later in my
Thank you.
day today,
No.
and
And
I'll
thank you, Ed,
publish it.
because I just want to say that you're doing a lot. I don't think people realize how much work goes into setting up a show, then producing it, then editing it, cutting it, sharing it, distributing it. And then you're not just doing one a day. You have the medical show, but you also have Latin America, you have Asia, and you're bringing together so many people. That's a lot of positivity. And you usually do it when I see it. I have to say, from the heart. It's like, oh, somebody, bring them in. Maybe they have something to share. And that's really rare, Ed. So I want to thank you for
Well,
that.
thank you. Oh, this is my happy place doing the show,
Yeah.
and it's uh, sort of like a coming out party, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm now getting back into developing and then producing
Mm-hmm.
live events with
Yes.
a portion also to be virtual.
Right. You're
And
coming back to London, aren't you?
London on December 7, a month from now.
Yes. Yes.
And we're
Yes.
being hosted by the Global Trade Bank,
Mm-hmm.
HSBC, now for the second time.
Mm-hmm.
The first time was on May 9 of this year, and it was facilitated by my good friend Andrew Ellerman, who's with AGS Worldwide, European head of AGS Worldwide in London. And he connected me with a friend of his
Mm-hmm.
inside the bank at the upper level.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted me to help them expand the reach of what they're doing. And so I said, well, I'll produce a meeting. You guys
Yeah.
help me do it. And they said, yeah. And so we did it on May 9, and it was really an interesting time.
Mm-hmm.
And so the bank execs uh, liked it sufficiently, and they said, come on back, do it again.
Yeah.
So this time will be December 7 in the inside the headquarters of HSBC,
Mm-hmm.
which is really swell. It's really great. And I feel like it's like, wow, that's a feel good thing, if
Mm-hmm.
for me. And our partner in the bank is Kolvinder, whose family background is Indian, and the
Oh,
family's
okay.
been in London for a very long time.
Yeah.
And so Kol is an executive with the bank, uh, involved with high net worth individuals coming out of India into
Mm-hmm.
the world, and they need a global bank to help them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the
Of
security
course.
of it, the facility of it, the
Yeah.
resources, the connections. And so this is really interesting. I mean, just look at the
Mm-hmm.
Prime Minister today of England
Yeah.
and the guys who run Google and Microsoft. I guess it's Microsoft now, and others. My God, I mean, it's a huge,
Yeah.
and
It's
they're all
crazy.
from India. They're
Mm-hmm.
immigrants.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is what the U.S. is all about, today. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm really happy to represent my corner of all that uh,
That's
by
good.
by doing the show and others, and
Mm-hmm.
then replicating the idea first into TV or using Zoom. I call it TV. It really is
Mm-hmm.
TV on a micro level,
Right. Right.
a micro level, but
Spreading
magnificent
globally. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's infinity,
Mm-hmm.
and forever, because these programs are all accessible free 24/7, 365 on my YouTube station. And it is youtube.com/at Global TV Talk Show. And they're all
There's a
there.
lot of good information on
There's
there. I go there.
760 programs,
Yeah.
editions that I've been fortunate to be able to create, produce, finance, and distribute. And it's getting easier. It's getting better. And it's also getting more complicated because the
Mm,
scope and dimension of the programs have evolved. And so I feel
right.
the weight, the responsibility to do it right.
Yeah, but you also see, but that fits into the topic because you're growing, you're learning. So you're learning, therefore you're growing your skills, and then you're also growing your audience and the offers that you have with all of your shows. It's quite amazing.
We have the Global Latin America show, the sixth in the series, no, the seventh. Oh, I'm losing
Mm-hmm,
track. I know it's six. Coming up on November 27, and it's a broadcast.
mm-hmm,
But we have corporate managers from different countries, including Portugal.
mm,
And yeah, it's really interesting. And on November 30,
mm-hmm.
we're doing a live meeting in New York area, and our host partner is Ernst& Young.
Mm,
Yeah, global firm, and it will be held inside their global center in New York,
nice.
live, and
Yeah.
portions will be zoomed. And so the reason why we're doing that, it's actually quite complicated to pull off, but
I
uh,
bet.
the reason why I'm doing that is because it gives power and
Mm-hmm,
reach for the
mm-hmm,
speakers, and equally for the co-sponsors who are
mm-hmm.
who are help funding it.
Right.
So uh, and so that it's not just done and gone in one day.
Mm-hmm.
It's done, but boy, the program or the recorded portions last forever.
Yeah.
And so
Wow.
I'm doing part of that in London again, in New York, and we're going to do a luncheon. I'm just setting up a
Mm.
luncheon in Paris, uh,
Oh,
in
yes.
in between
Mm.
New York and London on December 4. There'll be a luncheon, which is not
Nice.
recorded as of now anyway. It won't be. It's just
Yeah.
a roundtable, a workshop,
Wow.
and that's
Very
being
cool.
organized as we speak. And then I'll be doing more live meetings into the
Mm-hmm.
new year,
Mm-hmm.
in Texas, in Washington, D.C.,
Good.
in Miami, Chicago, and California. And I hope to be able to do at least one in Latin America. Mexico City will probably be the first.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah. And then coming back into Europe in the spring sometime to,
Good,
to
good, good.
do Paris and also Geneva,
Mm.
and maybe one more while on that trip. Not sure yet. So we're
Wow.
also working on Global India, trying to get that launched, and also Global Japan and Global Australia and Singapore, uh,
Mm.
for that area. So all of this will be announced soon and put into action.
I'm just excited that you're doing live events again because that's how we met.
Yeah, in the DC Beltway, and I'll be
Mm-hmm.
back there. In fact, Mark Bacacci from Hilton
Yeah.
has agreed to help me do that again. And
Wonderful.
also the World Bank will be actively involved.
Mm. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm really honored and pleased to have these solid connections, and
Yeah,
and
that's
and
awesome.
more because of those being the base, sort of a
Mm-hmm.
foundation.
Right.
Uh, Others are now taking a chance,
Yes.
to
Yeah.
taking a
Yeah.
chance on Ed, you know. And,
Well, they're not really taking a chance. I mean, you have a track record, you know.
yeah. Well, thank you
Awesome.
for being there.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm excited. I'm excited. We need to get you to
I love your
Korea.
wisdom and your insights, and I welcome you to join me when you have time. You have,
Absolutely.
I think, less time than me available.
Yeah,
You know.
maybe. I can make time. I can make
Oh,
time.
thank you, thank you. Okay, and I welcome any other introduction of others, so we can grow our
Hmm.
network.
Awesome. Oh, no worries, no worries.
All right, thank you for being on Global TV.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.